Okay, got the red smoke.
Gun runs north and south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke.
Okay, copy. West of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now.
Come on with it, baby. Give it to me. I need it. You're cleared hot.
Copy, cleared hot.
I don't want to breathe into the mic. Am I?
Don't be a mouth breather. You were doing
These are
that.
nice.
You were doing that on your hunt.
These are nice.
Getting all up in that mouth breathing.
Breathing heavy, trying to keep up with it.
How come I don't know if I've ever heard anybody discuss. Yeah, it's already rolling.
Oh, yeah, of course. I like it.
I don't know if I've ever heard anybody discuss their challenges with mouth breathing. I've never heard anybody have an issue with these microphones. Do you have an excessive exhale?
On my microphones, I feel like I'm doing that all the time, and then I'm checking for drool.
Swing that thing closer to your mouth.
You can't hear me?
Oh, I can just.
Oh, you want to?
There you go. That's the experience.
Yeah.
Well, otherwise I have to go into the software and like jack up your waveform because you're going to sound like a mouse in the background.
Okay, how do you want it? You tell me where you want
I think you're good.
I think you're good too.
Yeah, you're good there. As long as you can make room for your PBR. Yeah, we need to do a drink check on one.
Mm-hmm.
Drink check on one. Cheers, boys. That's how.
Great times.
Good times. Thanks, Tosh.
Bless you, man.
No kidding. How do we even start? I almost want to start just grilling Tosh on his first bow hunting experience.
Yeah.
What he learned.
Rock.
How was it? We'll start broad.
I mean, known you for a while.
Yep.
You introduced me to Duds not too long ago. Only met him once. Chat.
Came to the house, you and
Came to the
Bridges.
house, yeah. And now it's like, hey, I had a connection down here at this ranch. It's like, hey, I want to share something. I like sharing good people with good people. I like sharing things with people that I care about. And it's like, hey, I love fucking hunting. I want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Who else better to learn from? And I get to spend some time with you. And then we just put it together. I was driving down here for a hunt, and you and I were talking on the phone. We were talking. It was right before you launched Free Range American.
Okay. So 6-7 months ago then.
Yeah. And then I was on the way down here, and I said, hey, let's just put it together. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. We picked some dates.
He totally goes like
We
real
did it.
soft-spoken.
You hear that?
Yeah. You speak quieter right now on a podcast than we did in the timber hunting for 3 days.
Because you made me put that face mask on and cover my ears. I can't hear shit with that thing on.
You wore it 5 hours today. Yeah. He got real philosophy. He's like,
Did you go deep in the field?
Yeah. No, but right now he's like quiet and down. He's
I gotta
going
calm down a
low.
little bit.
I feel like it's podcast anxiety you have going on right now.
He does.
Could be.
We need
Hey,
to
dude,
break this.
Back to the question.
Okay.
I had a blast. Are you kidding? I'm hunting with you guys. I'm learning from the best. I'm spending time. I'm watching. I'm learning. Duds gives me a brand new bow. And we're out here after animals, and we're seeing all kinds of... I mean, I learned infinitely more in my first stalk than out there in the woods by myself for the last 2 years, and watching all the shows and doing the YouTubery. It's like, in one stalk, I learned more with you than two and a half years of bow hunting.
I have found it in other activities in my life to be quite humbling to have that experience where you're in the woods, the metaphorical woods, you're going down a path in an activity, and then you encounter somebody who's actually really good at it.
Yep.
And you pair up with them, and you're like, okay, probably going to show this guy what's up. And then you're like 2 minutes into, you're like, oh, God, where's my notebook?
I'm going to backtrack into being like, I'm a dork.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and realize that I've wasted the last 3 to 5 years of my life. I don't actually know anything, and start taking notes.
Yeah.
I was taking notes yesterday just on the stuff that I had learned about the sheep that we were after.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm assuming your knowledge base is probably close to being complete. Mine's on the other side of the spectrum. But one of the coolest things I think about the hunting we've done is we don't repeat animals very frequently.
That is true.
So
yeah.
Every time out there, so we were hunting. They're sheep, right? I keep wanting to call them rams, but they're not. They're not rams.
Well, we're down in Texas, so we're kind of on a really, really cool place. Tosh found this place. It's really neat. Whitetail season ended a week ago, and for me, this is the time of year where there's still opportunity to learn, and this is the perfect place for it. It's places where they have, in Texas they refer to them as exotics. They're not native species to here, so 3 of the things that they had here were they had Texas doll sheep. They had Hawaiian mouflons, and they had what was that other?
Corsican.
It was a Corsican ram,
Also known as sniper.
And we're in the, I guess, the start of the Texas hill country, I would say. But it's the terrain is very, very similar to, especially in some of these hills, it's very similar to almost what we encountered in France, but it doesn't go for another 9,000 feet up.
Yeah.
You know, the elevation maybe it's 800 feet top to bottom, I would say.
Yeah,
but pretty sheer, real thick, a lot of rock. It's very, very suitable for several of the animals that they have here, which was like Gem's buck and these different rams. And yeah, you learned right away, like, nope, we can't do that.
Were you surprised by the volcanic rock here?
That sounded legit.
That's awesome.
It did.
Leather chair action.
Maybe it was.
The first day walking around, we encountered these huge piles of what I can only assume is volcanic rock.
I don't know if it's volcanic rock. I think it's all creek bed. That's just from the years of washing out. The way the rocks are made, they like pit out. Like, do you see on some of those river bends where it was just completely dished out? That's just a larger scale of what you're seeing. I think the rock isn't, I don't know if it's as solid. I don't know if that makes sense, but it seems like waterways get some really weird looking rocks where it almost looks like it had bubbling in it when it was made or something.
And when it chinks, it makes that really high pitched, like light.
That's
chink, chink.
I was surprised how quiet it was when I'd accidentally kick it. It was great. Down a hill. Tink, 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 tink. I was with Nick. I'm like, hey, we should go a couple miles that way because I think we're done here.
Especially with these rams. That's the one thing that you hadn't experienced yet was, every type of species has things that they adapt to surviving. And these, things that used to live in the cliffs and live in the rock and live in the shale, when they hear shale sliding, to them that's an indicator that something is moving that shale, and for them it probably goes back to when cats, when mountain lions would be there and attack them. So you could be moving and crunching a little bit of twig, or you could crunch some of the dried leaves, and those rams, if they were 100 yards out, they would still be doing their business. But as soon as you stepped on a slate and it cracked in half, or you hit a slate and it started to slide down the hill, they were just pinpoint on you. Like, to them, that was a defense mechanism.
The velocity, especially that Corsican, that his head would snap, and the accuracy that he would pinpoint where the noise was coming from and just sit there and burn a hole through us, it was not awesome. It got personal with him.
This whole hunt started out for us to get Tosh, his first bow kill and be able to experience it with it. And I appreciate you wanting to stalk with me. I really just wanted to be there to try to navigate and guide. But once I broke off with Andy on that second day, and that Corsican freaking sniped him like 3 times, and then all of a sudden it got personal, and I'm like, all right, sucker.
Because
I'm freaking suiting up.
We were after axis deer.
Yeah, we were here for axis.
Axis. And
Also not a native.
I'm fascinated with the axis deer.
Yeah,
man.
they're beautiful, aren't they?
I mean, they're amazing.
Yep, there's one up
And
there.
that's all I want. I'm fixing. They taste delicious. They're beautiful. And
Best
they
meat
are
ever, I would say.
Wily, super
Yeah.
lean.
Mm-hmm.
They are wily. And then that's what we were going for.
Yeah.
And then the sheep
And
got in your head, and you just were like shifted gear. It was like this. I was like, I just saw Dudley shift gears. He's going after these things. And it seemed like every time you went after them, and then they adapted very quickly.
Yep.
And they learned, and they kept. And I loved watching the two of you
mistake that
guys
they
with the
made
strategy.
by adapting, though, is that once he gets his hooks in something like that, from a mental perspective, like every time that I've been around you, and not like that one at Wes's place.
Oh.
He's like, nope, we're going back. Nope, we're going back. He's like, got the taste for it. And so once they started, I think, juking us a little bit, it was basically a matter of time. Like, we were shutting everything down until we handled that business.
Yep, totally.
Come back.
It was not. It was cool to watch that.
Yeah.
Because it was okay. Do this, boom, they're on it, and then you evolve, they evolve, you evolve, they evolve, and
It's a
you
chess
just were
match.
like,
Yep.
boom, and you figured it out. I mean, you got yours.
Yeah, but that was also the first one, and the group that we were walking after that had been, I wouldn't say they had been pushed, but you guys had been stalking them as well, because we encountered them in the morning, and I was off on the side, and they came by, and we kind of chased them around. So we were pushing them around a little bit, and then Dudley looked over and said, "Oh, hey, there's the mouflons over there." So they had a little bit less experience with what was going on, and their behavior, I think their behavior was appropriate to that, because as we got closer, and they definitely saw us as we were moving to the tree. Then we got into the tree and started moving towards them. And the closest one stood up, but the biggest one, which is the one I ended up taking the shot on, was the last one to get up. And he kind of just stretched out and looked over, and that didn't work out so hot for him. But I have a feeling that the behavior of that group would be different if they encountered him now, because they all took off running, and then Billy peeled off, and they were not to be seen. Or you guys saw them at the far end of at the ranch, which Doug was saying that's not historically where they are.
They moved clear. I mean,
well, just to give a background,
away.
Day one, Andy's watch logged 12 miles.
12.8.
12.8 miles, and then yesterday we were at 8.5. And you actually kind of set up in an ambush spot. So I bet I hit 10 yesterday total.
In the evening. Yeah, because our evening hunt was different.
I mean, this was actually really good. That's what I was telling you. I'm like, these guys should really try to sell this place as like a great learning experience for bow hunters who are trying to start to do mule deer hunts, spot and stalk black bear hunts, even elk hunts. Because honestly, the biggest bulls I've ever shot on elk, it's not ones that came running to a call. A lot of times the biggest bulls have their harems, and you're setting up strike zones. You're just trying to set up ambush spots. Once you get eyes on them, if you call to that bull, a lot of times he'll just gather up, his herd and just push them off. But if you just let them do their thing and then kind of strategize and figure like ambush points, then you become really successful. And this place was perfect for that. Just
for the reps.
Yeah.
It ties me back into the first question that we opened with. I'm interested to hear. So you said you learned a ton on your first stalk. I'm interested to hear you talk about what you learned just in the last 2.5 days, because I'm only 18 months ahead of you in this experience, and I, like I said, was writing stuff down, and the limited success that I have had in this particular activity, I can 100% say it's written in the multiple failures that I have had. And I'm sure we'll talk about what happened last night, but getting pinned and like, I can't move my dial, I guess you're going to walk away, because I couldn't move and I drew at the wrong time, or I was standing in the wrong place, or I was looking at my feet and then looked up. I'm like, oh, hey, animal. Oh, you're going to run away now? Okay, cool. I'm just going to go kick rocks.
Yeah.
So what'd you learn?
I didn't even draw on an animal. So I know that the stuff that I learned to even get in position or even get down the storybook to learn all the stuff that I still have yet to learn. That's kind of exciting for me. I think that's addicting. It's okay, I'm learning this stuff. Okay, got that. I told John, Ginger John, I won't make the same mistake twice. I won't not do if Dudley points something out to me, he won't look back and say, well, why are you doing what I told you not to do? Like, I'm committed to that, which is cool. And so what did I learn? I mean, we've been in the business of hunting and stalking for a lot of years. And
it is different, though.
But
some of the theories,
different.
like the camouflage and understanding dead space, sure. I've never tried to stalk to 35 yards on a person.
No.
It's just not necessary.
But like, I'm just being reinforced, like, common sense. Use your dead space, use your blockers, where you want to step, which one. And it's like, yeah, dude, why am I not making that connection with this? And by being on the ground, just kind of identifying, okay, hey, cool, like makes total common sense. I should have been thinking about that. It's not that complicated, but I'm thinking about these things, and it's like, you're not even going to get a chance to think about those things if you don't do these things first.
Yeah.
So it really brings you all the way back to the basics. Focus, and it's exhausting if you're really concentrating. Just walking around is exhausting,
I was talking to him when we were taking the pictures today. He grabbed your bow, which is an awesome bow, but guess what? It's heavier than the carbon one.
Yeah, yep.
And he was talking about walking around and how his arm was tired. And I was telling him one of the things that I learned early on walking around with you is, especially when we slowed down and started moving slower, I would find myself like raising my shoulders up, and for whatever reason, I would be carrying my bow with a bent elbow joint.
Yeah.
Which is not awesome when you carry your bow like that for 30 minutes and then you go to draw back and you're just, I can't hold it up.
It's like holding a dumbbell. It's like holding an 8-pound or 10-pound dumbbell at half curl.
And then trying to move
for an hour, walking around for 10 miles, and
with
then
your shoulders jammed up, and then you get to a place where you actually need to do something. And I've learned that because I got smoked in that position like 3 times. So I was telling Tosh, I actively tell myself when I'm walking around, like, make sure my shoulders are down, make sure my joints are taking the load instead of the muscle, especially like if we're knocked up stalking around, because you'll draw back. It's not awesome when you're freaking smoked already before you draw back.
We tromped around the whole day. The first day we came back here, and I said, "Hey, I just want to shoot the bow a little bit." And I went out there to take the first shot, and I was like, "Oh my God, I can't imagine even if I had put myself into a hunting shooting scenario, and I would have been feeling that for the first time." So that was kind of neat too. Like, stalk all day long, come back and like get some reps in. I mean, I think that's a cool, because I'm always thinking about that, like realistic rehearsals. Hunt, stalk all day, wasn't successful, force yourself to go and take a couple shots. And it's like, okay, hey, because that's legitimately what I would have felt. I mean, last night when we got in, we're going to tell that story later, but like it just.
No, hold on, you just touched on it.
Been able to.
You touched on it. Go ahead and fire away.
Oh man!
And don't leave anything out, or else I'll just ask you direct questions.
I'm not even going to talk about your demonstration.
Yeah.
Right. Dudley puts on a demonstration, and that I'm watching.
Like we said, it got personal with the sheep.
It got personal.
Yeah.
It was. We renamed that little spot in the back corner.
Yeah.
To Hamburger Hill.
Yeah. That's what happens.
That's Hamburger Hill.
They didn't know who they were messing with.
Oh my God. And so we're watching that, and then that all unfolds, and Duds comes walking to me because I couldn't see him. I mean, that's another thing too. Like, my camouflage is my camouflage.
I mean, camouflage Crocs,
your
and
camouflage
Carhartt
is yours.
Yeah.
And yours is yours. It's nice. That Sitka is nice.
Well, like you said, that day I popped out of the truck and I went and took a knee. It's
you were gone.
Surprising.
Yeah. So I saw you, but when I took my eyes off of you and then I tried to reacquire you, the only reason I saw you was because you were moving. And then when I took my eyes off you, then I looked back and you were dead still. Dud said, "Hey man, like, Andy is invisible with that subalpine," and I'm like, "No, I saw him." And then I'm looking, I'm like, where is he? And then oh, there he is. But it was because of the movement. You were invisible.
Not to make it a sick ad, but I mean, I've had some crazy animal experiences wearing that stuff.
Yeah.
I can tell that they're looking at me, and then you can just see the expression on their face that they're looking through me and past, and they cannot see me. And then the head goes back down, and they're not wigged out. I've had that happen it happened a bunch in Alberta.
Yeah.
With muleys, and I have had the opposite experience with that as well too.
That's cool, man. That's cool. That's my number one commitment. If I want to continue to get as many of the odds in my favor as possible, it's addressing my camouflage issues.
And your Crocs.
My Crocs are dope, right? I mean, these things are legit.
Just keep them for house sandals.
I'm gonna buy a pair of Vans and hunt in my Vans because
my Vans were quiet as a mouse, man.
They were okay.
6'7", 260.
First off, let's just go back. I normally do not hunt in Vans, but since I was first on the Mexico border before I came here, I had these like full knee-high, full leather snake boots.
Which you took for a spin on the first day.
On the first day, I took for a spin, and I was thinking, this is going to be pancake flat, just like where I was, just dodging a few prickly pears and stuff. Oh, my God. My lower lumbar was blown out.
Yeah.
I felt like I was walking around and like...
Did you switch half day?
No, I took him the full 12. Terrible decision.
Yeah. So you're not getting away from your story.
Yeah.
I was trying to distract, man. I was trying to get
That's
around.
not going to happen. You're pinned in.
Yeah, we're high-fiving, hugging,
Yep.
reflecting on the story with the sheep, and you just happen to look, and you say,
look over Tasha's
giant
shoulder.
Axis, don't move, get down. And
How
I'm
far
like,
away would you say this?
He was 184 yards over his shoulder.
Yeah,
Okay.
at that point.
And just to backtrack, we're on a place that has, he said he figures there's about 150 to 200 axes here.
Mm-hmm.
You and I saw 3 bucks the first day, and then I mean we have like covered this place crazy and
multiple times.
And that was the first buck that I saw bedded, and it was almost like it was just a gift. I just look over your shoulder, and like as far as I can see past your shoulder, I see the big like rainbow look of a rack, and I pull my binoculars up looking past your ear and shoulder, and there's just this giant axis bedded just kind of looking the other way, and I'm like, dude, the last 2 days it's game on right now.
In the same sentence, he's like, don't look. Did you see him? and my back is to him, and I'm like, Duds, I don't want to move. He's like, all right, I think you're okay now. And I turn around and I look. Sure enough, man, there it is. I'm like, how the hell did you see it? How did it not see us hooping and hollering?
How did it not hear? That was what I was curious about too. I mean,
we had good wind.
They're so
the wind
fidgety.
was at his back blowing straight to us. Mm-hmm. We weren't
winds.
like hooping and hollering, but I mean we were.
I don't know. Tosh gets excited.
He does.
I am an excitable dude.
Yeah. He does, but I think we were up above him, and it tabled down 2 times, and then he was bedded right in the middle of this clump of trees, but the sunlight was just shining. It was like he was just a beacon, and his rack was still in velvet, but it's like about ready to come off, so it's like a real white, and that just lit up. Mm-hmm. And it, I just saw this huge 30-inch rack just up in the air, and I'm like, dude, there's your buck. That's him.
Yeah.
And now, back to your part of the story, Tosh.
But like, like you said, it was a gift. We were given a gift, and so we tucked behind the cedar. You explained a couple things to me. You think you got it? And I'm like, yeah, I got it. You said, just keep your eyes on him. Wait for him to move, and then you can figure out what you need to do. I'm going to go back here and take care of my business.
We should probably explain, too, this is getting close to last light, so they're likely going to get up at some point.
It was an hour before last light at this time.
Yep.
He was wanting to navigate, and he said, I think I'm going to go over there. And he said, and then I could go over there, which according to the wind and him to get within striking distance was like a strategy. But I said, yeah, every one of those moves, you take your eyes off the prize. You have to strategize a move to where there's always eyes on him. Because what happened at the very end, that was why. Like if and I actually left you, and I went over there, and then once I was there for 15 or so minutes looking back, I thought I need to go back.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what you did. So you went and took care of your business, and I was just doing what you said. Keep my eyes on him, looking through the cedar. Bend back over, look through the cedar, and he's just sitting there, cool. And I'm like, all right, this is great, man. I'm in a great spot. Wind, the light was starting to get in your mind, and you said, we texted real quick.
Estimated heart rate at this
we made
point?
eye contact, super low. It was all chill.
Yeah, he was chill. He was chill.
No problem.
Yep.
I made eye contact with you. You were probably 100, 150 yards that way. I pulled the binos up. We sort of did some hand and arm signals. And then you asked, hey, do you want me to come back over? And I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you want Dudley to come back over if he's going to? So you worked your way back around. He hadn't moved yet because I said, hey, I think I'll give him 10 more minutes, but and then I might move my way back down a little closer because it's going to get hard to see. But you said, hey, man, just things are working well. We really think he's going to come up. When he gets up, he's going to come this way.
Come up that draw.
Just pick your shots out. So I had everything pinned out, ranged out ahead of time, 45 cedars, 35 cedar, 25. And it's like I wanted to shoot him right here because I know where I'm kind of comfortable shooting.
Mm-hmm. And the sight on your bow, just so people have an understanding because it comes into play later. Describe your sight. I think is it the Spot Hog?
Yeah, I gave him the same as yours.
So vertical fin, 2 what makes them glow? Fiber optic pins.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so then on your dope dial, you have 2 arrows, a top pin and a bottom pin. Mm-hmm. Just so for people who are listening. So even though you have a bunch of things lasered out, unless they're matching that top pin and your bottom pin.
It's not a gun that shoots flat.
Right? Correct. You got math you need to do in your head, and you need to know, okay, there I need to hold high with this pin, there I need to hold low with that pin. So there's a lot of things going on.
Yep.
Okay.
And I tried to pick it out with those 2 pins when you spin your dial so that at least if I put the setting on my dial, I've got 2 of those 3 shooting scenarios figured out. And so that's what I did.
Yeah.
I dialed it in, got those 2 shooting scenarios figured out, fine. So you came over, we were hanging out, starting to get dark, and you're like, hey, what do you think? And that's what's cool. Like, you're just, hey, what do you think? Hey, this is what I'm thinking. And you're like, yeah, this is what I'm thinking. It's like, cool. I see where some of the things that I was thinking lined up with you.
Yep.
And then I see where some of the things that I was thinking doesn't line up with you. And it's like, cool. And I can go back now, because I'm an analysis guy in the back. I'm always reflecting. And it's like, okay, hey, I see where I was thinking, what I was thinking, and how it was different than him, and now I can put those 2 together and not think that way or think better the next time. But you said, hey, I'm going to stay up here and I'm going to keep eyes on him. Oh, actually, this is how you said it. You said, hey, what do you think about me? Do you want me just to stay up here and keep eyes on him for you, or do you want me to come down there with you? And you let me make the call.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, if you stay here and keep the eyes on him, I'll work it. And you said, hey, get 70 yards. That's your shot.
Yeah.
70 yards. If you can get there, drop one. I'm like, all right. And I picked where I was going to go. I'm working down. I got myself in a
perfect
clump of
blocker.
cedars,
Yeah.
perfect blockers, was able to move well. The wind was blowing stiff in my face.
Yep.
And I got in them, and I went to the left-hand side, and I worked my way down a little bit, peeked around the cedar, got the binos on him, ranged him. He was 82, and he was still sitting there, hadn't moved. I'm like, okay, cool. I got eyes on him, and I'm looking, and I'm glassing him again. He's at 82. He said 70. So I'm looking around. How am I going to close another 15 yards? Working it. I'm getting my plan. Like, I'm going to move right up here to get my 15 yards. This is the
was
blocker.
there more dead space? Or were you
No
gonna
more
go?
dead space, but I had one more blocker. I couldn't go this way, which
Yeah.
is the way I wanted to, but it would have had to cross a 10-yard gap.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then if I went to the right, I could sneak through, and it was going to be loud, but I had good wind and I had the blocker, so I was going to go right this way through the clump of cedar and oak. And it was 15 yards away. I said, well, that'll put me at 67, 68. That's where I want to go.
Yep.
Pick up the binos after I made that decision to look, still there, and I'm just getting ready to go, and I got the buzz from you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I pick up the phone, and he's like, he's up, he's moving, he's coming straight at you, and he's moving fast. And I'm like, I got him. I'm on it. I said I'm on it.
Yep.
Put the phone on it, and here it is.
Estimated heart rate.
Now.
Let's recheck in on that heart rate.
I'll tell you, it was not resting.
How does it
And it's
spike
gonna go
so
a lot
fast?
higher.
You're like, la-di-da-di. Oh my God.
It's going to happen. And he was moving like a horse. He was moving like a truck. He was
Yeah.
coming in hard. And I pulled the binos up, and I said, okay, I don't need to move. I got eyes on him, and he is coming straight at me. I tucked myself back in. I went down to my pin, and I said, 25 yards. Doesn't matter if he's any closer. At 25 yards, if I put the pin on him, it's hitting. I mean, the margin of error between 25 and 20 and
aim
15.
Bottom of the armpit if he's closer.
Why you get it? I was going to ask him where he was going to aim. Where would you have aimed at 70? Say he had stood up and stood broadside.
So if he stood broadside, I was putting it right on the front shoulder, just like I
How
would with
high
a
up?
rifle.
He would have set a sight.
I would have
at
put
that.
it center mass, dead on the, and I would have just put it right on the front shoulder at
He
70
hasn't
yards.
seen what they do.
I haven't.
He would look at your arrow and go, bitch, and slide right underneath that thing.
And that will be a learning lesson.
I wish I had
That
videoed
would be
my
another
shot
learning lesson.
from last night. I forgot. I literally, the shot broke, nice, and I watched the animal's chest hit the ground as he was backing out and just flew directly over the top. Because when I was in Lanai, all I could hear in your back of my head was your voice, aim at the bottom of the armpit, aim at the bottom, because you have to let him drop into it.
Yeah.
I would
I've never
have made that mistake.
I have never seen an animal more keyed up than an Axis.
At 25 yards. In his defense, though.
At 25, he'd have been fine,
Yeah.
right?
At his defense, that thing was so calm. Like, that Axis was absolutely confident that he was the only person in that entire, like, within 300-400 yards of him. Like, the way he walked, he was, like, purposely dragging his feet, like, I'm the man. I bet you if you would have shot, I think he was so convinced that didn't have anything to worry about, like you would have probably. And it was getting very, very low light, and a lot of animals, it gets a point where you can barely make them out, and they almost feel like invincible because they feel like nothing can see them. I don't know if you've ever experienced that with deer, where you come out and it's like last light, and you can just walk by them, and they're looking at you like, he can't see me. I think we were right at that.
Yeah, it was
thing.
dark. It was
like
it
he was
getting
confident.
dark.
He was very confident moving.
So I interrupted you though. So he's
No, it's
walking.
okay. He's humming right at me, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna happen. I'm gonna tuck right here, and I'm gonna wait, and he's gonna come straight broadside, and when he does, whack.
Were you trying to decide between like a Euro mount or a full shoulder at that point? Like,
No, because my leg took over. You were asking me what my heart rate was.
Yeah.
My heart literally went straight down into my right leg, just above the knee,
Yeah.
and started going like a jackhammer. And
So in
I
the base
just,
jumping world, we call that sewing machine leg. And
Exactly.
you'll see it on exit points, and somebody's leg is just hammering out a cross stitch on the rock for whatever reason, because they're
Yeah.
amped out of their mind.
and I'm just
Tosh's
like,
words
whoa.
were, he goes, my right leg was shaking like a little bitch. He said.
It was.
He's like, dude.
And you want to know what? That's how I knew I was doing exactly what I needed to be doing. Like,
Yep.
This is what this is all about. To,
Yep.
to feel that adrenaline again, to
Yeah.
feel that excitement, to feel that passion,
Yeah.
that love,
Yep.
that.
You can tell he's getting into it. Look how red his face
Oh,
is.
dude,
He's
I
like
just
got
got
full blood
tuned
flow right
up,
now.
man, because that feels good again. I mean, like,
Why are you
it
touching
just,
yourself
it just
like that?
feels good again. And how would you prefer me to touch
I
myself
like
right
not
now?
at all. I guess.
I'm trying to stay PG. And so I was like, hey, and I got happy.
Yeah.
I got happy that I was feeling that, because that meant that, like, I'm working hard. I've got a lot of respect for what I'm about to do. And I was like, okay, hey, calm down, relax. And I settled the legs down.
At this point, you think you were collapsing in a little bit?
I was focused on my shot being here. So that's kind
Here,
of
and by
that's
here
how
you
it's going to
mean in front
unfold.
of you.
Yeah,
At like 12 o'clock.
I'm watching right here, and I know I'm going to shoot here. Nothing else mattered. Dudley
Yeah.
didn't exist anymore. It was me and this axis deer, and it was
metaphorically.
Here we go, here we go, and that leg's going, and I'm like happy. And then I just calm it down, and I got everything calmed down. Okay, knock. I start going through my checklist. I hear him, can't see him now, but I've got my hand in my
In your release?
is that what we call it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my hand in my release.
I believe that's what it is called. It's not what we call it, but
It's a knock to it.
The knock to
Yeah.
it, the green beast, and I'm just getting ready to rock, man. I'm like, okay, cool, and I'm saying, okay, Dudley told me thumb goes like 45, match your hand, don't torque the string, bent elbow, and I'm just going through what you taught me, and I'm like, and then the leg starts happening again, and I'm just like, oh fuck. And then it stops moving.
Yeah.
It stopped, and I'm like, okay, hey, just calm down. Just calm down. I don't hear it anymore. Why don't I hear it anymore? I can't see it.
yeah.
It's a little too far away. It might have been 40 yards from me the last time I saw it.
How
And
much
it was
time
coming.
do you think has passed in what you just described? 5 to 10 seconds?
10.
Yeah.
Okay.
10 seconds.
Took you longer to describe it than for all this to actually happen.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But in the moment, it
From
felt like
that
it was
thing-
10 minutes.
Yeah, from that thing getting up to walking to where all of a sudden I seen him like disappear behind this big clump that he was in. Like I seen him going, and then he's like, got him. And then from like that countdown, it got to about, I remember I was sitting there in my head as soon as he said got him, and I was estimating the rate of his walk versus where I saw him. I'm like, in my head, I'm going, ding, ding, whack, ding, whack. And I'm like playing this out, and I'm like, about the fourth time I thought,
Uh-oh.
they're in a stare down. Like I'm thinking he busted you raising your bow or something, because I'm like,
You're at half draw. He's looking at you.
yeah, I'm thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, or I thought they did the infamous like walk up and just like for no reason, but just stop and just kind of look around and just kind of make him sweat it out at full draw. Like I'm thinking that's going down, but then go ahead.
That was going to. I was hoping that was happening, because I just couldn't hear him. And then and it's just too dark to see, but I don't want to reach down and pick up my binos because I'm getting ready to draw.
Yeah.
And then I hear some noise again, and I'm like, "Fuck, where is that noise coming from?" And I'm like, "It's back behind my right shoulder." I mean, I'm looking left, and it's back behind and it's just like a sinking feeling. And then
you realize you were a bow hunter.
A buzz in my pocket. There was a buzz in my pocket as I'm getting ready to pull out the phone to text you that he's by me because I didn't know if you saw him or not.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to text you real quick. He's by me. Your text came in. He's 30 yards away from me, which would have been 40 yards behind me at that point already. And I'm just like, how the hell did he cover that much distance that quick? And now I'm upwind of him. And he's between you and I just said, take the shot or take it.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, we're.
Yeah.
And so he just was behind me. And back to your question, you were talking about like tunnel vision. I was totally focused here. I wasn't planning, and we talked about that. We went down to assess what I was doing.
Yeah. After everything broke down, he goes, "Can you come down to where I was?" So
Walking
I went
through it. Yep.
Yeah. So I went down there, and I'm like, dude, this was the perfect spot, and here's why. I'm like, you had ability to see him, you had a blocker for your left shot, which I think that like main little gap was 25 yards. And I said, and if he did come around the right side of you, I'm like, you had a perfect blocker to turn around and get him in a quarter and away shot at 11 yards, which is where he walked. Like, to backtrack in my mind when I was going,
He was walking.
And then I thought,
we walked with his trail.
Yeah, and then I thought, he's in a stare down. And then all of a sudden I could hear and I looked to the right of that big clump, and the buck walks right around his right side and stops, and I can see the back of his head and the deer. And then I'm sitting there like I'm looking at the trunk of this tree I'm at, and I'm thinking, okay, as soon as I hear like I'm like getting behind the trunk because I thought there's an inbound coming, like
heat seeker headed your way.
I'm thinking friendly fire inbound right now,
for sure. Which is not something that you normally think of when you're shooting arrows.
Well,
I mean, at least I don't.
If you shoot a projectile, you should be thinking like where that's going. But no, so then the buck gets around behind him, and what was crazy is it stopped, and it was like, once it came behind him, that was the biggest clump of like brush that buck couldn't see. Like, I think he was really confident in that bowl and in that hole. He knew like he could sense anything that was down there. But once he passed Tosh and he got into like this clearing that I was in this one little cedar tree at the top. And I think once he got to there, he thought, I need to check this all out. Mm-hmm. So he sat there and looked around for like 15 or 20 seconds. He was, right behind him, and I kept thinking, he's ranging.
I couldn't hear him.
I'm thinking he's ranging, he's calibrating. I'm like, shots coming in, shots coming in, shots coming in. And then all of a sudden he starts going again, and he starts coming up towards me, and he stops right behind this bush, and I range the bush, and it was 30 yards. And then I'm like, that's when I just text him. I'm like, dude, because I knew by then he was 70 yards uphill from him. Like, he's passing this, like, it's game over for him. And then, yeah.
Yeah, that's
things play out the way they do.
Second part of the story. That might be the third story.
Fourth. It's technically the
That's
fourth.
a cool experience, though.
It was awesome.
Let me ask you this. Did you feel like there was a lot of things happening in that moment? Like, when you saw him coming, did you all of a sudden feel like you had a lot of things you needed to do?
Yes and no. Yes, in the fact that I was aware.
Yep.
But no in the fact that it would just, like, all those things were just like do.
You already had it figured out when you were going to draw back, all that good stuff?
Yeah, through the conversation with him and the coaching and the talking, a little bit of experience hunting. I mean, not as robust as I'd like to have, obviously, but it felt like, okay, the situation's happening really, really quick.
Yeah.
And I'm ready. That's exciting.
The hardest things that I have found about bow hunting is it seems like it's slow, and then everything compresses down on you, and you got to get ready to range, and then you got to, hopefully you already have an arrow knocked and everything's already set up, and it's like you need to get this done.
Sometimes it's better if things, I've always found this just in life, if things happen super quick, then training overcomes nerves. Like training and repetition, subconscious is just like and you're just like, whoa, okay, goal was accomplished, but man, I didn't, like, everything happened. I didn't have time to think about it.
Yep.
But like in your situation, you were in this really, it's almost a very risky zone to where it doesn't happen fast enough to where instincts take over, which I think you'd be really good at just from like your natural, from what you've done in your past. If he would have just like came quick, I think that would have happened. Or I think if you would have been able to get out there, range him, know that you had that long shot, set your sight, go through your checklist, think about the things I told you, and then execute, then I think you would have been fine. But for you were in this in-between zone to where you hadn't really fully digested the shot's going to happen, and then you look out and you knew with certainty it is going to happen, and you had enough time to think like, I'm going to shoot this thing. You know, what's it going to look like on the ground? How big really is it? I can't wait to freaking high five Dudley. Freaking, I'm going to be like, here's my first one. Man, I've been waiting for this forever. Like, you had just enough time for that stuff, and then the legs freaking, But if it would have if I would all of a sudden said, dude, I lost him, and you'd been like, what? And he was there, you'd have just been like, and it would have happened. But you were right in that in-between zone. And that's actually a really dangerous place, not just as a hunter, but as a competitor. When I competed, I really didn't like it when I had just enough time to really think about what the outcome would mean. It's almost like I wanted to just shoot, go into the finals, boom, and it's like, hey, you won a medal, and I'm like, awesome. And then like I'm out with my friends an hour later, and I'm like, I still gotta still processing this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But when all of a sudden you have eliminations, and this is the case in big tournaments, you have eliminations, and then the way that it plays out, the compound archers always had a 1-day break before the finals. So like you have a day for friends to be texting you, be like, dude, good luck in the gold medal match. Hey, freaking beat this guy. Remember when you guys had that freaking thing? Here's your payback. And you have all this crap. It's like, but in the end, when your outcome is positive, it's when you just go back to you just go right back to the process of what your subconscious would do if you didn't think about it. Mm-hmm. But when you think about it, then that's when you trigger this fight or flight. And sometimes if you're a fighter, you just you're better in that moment. But sometimes when you don't have enough experience in that moment, you're not acclimated to just be like, hell yeah, that's what I'm freaking here for. Damn right. I mean, this is what I'm here for. This is why I'm good at what I do. But it takes a long time for you to get into that mindset. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why you had the trigger that you had.
It was good. I like that. I like being reminded.
It's humbling, though.
It feels that feeling is exciting to have, because when it becomes impersonal, or you're not, I like having those, and then I like having the ones where you've had a lot of time. I mean, I have it when I rifle hunt. You got a lot of time to figure out, and you're a little bit shaky, or you're a little bit this or that, but then you're just like, hey.
I got a little time to let it calm down, let it chill out.
Manage it, and then you make the shot, and you're coming home with a perfectly banged hole, exactly where you were aiming at 250, 300 yards. Great. But it's nice every now and then to be dosed with that again and feel alive.
Humbled.
But,
yeah.
Had that bull come out?
Buck.
Yeah. Had he come
Technically, it's a stag, by the way.
A stag.
Yeah, I've been corrected on this. Like, axis are like chittle deer, so technically they're a stag. I get corrected all the time on horns, antlers, stags, bucks, bulls, but you can call it a bull.
If this axis deer had come out and walked that path, I'd love to look you in the eyes and say he'd be on the dinner plate. I was so excited. I mean, I'm just being honest. I don't know. I still had to make the shot.
Isn't it kind of awesome?
I didn't even get full draw yet to learn a lot of these other lessons that I
wonder-
know that I've got
I wish
to
you
learn
had
still.
gotten to full draw, because that portion of the story
That's
would
when
have been amazing.
So
He just went around the other. He went around the other side, man. I just
want to map this out. I mean, I have confidence in you, dude. I love you. But have you ever seen those people drive down the road and all of a sudden, like, they're riding a BMX bike and they, like, got their hands off the wheel and they're just going. They're, like, subconscious taking over. They're just freaking, going. And then all of a sudden that front tire, like, starts wobbling. And they, like, it starts like that. And then it's like, whoo, whoo, whoo. And even though that only takes a second, you're like, he's done. Like, that leg was the chime of your front wheel. I think once you would have started getting back, I think the freaking wheels would have came off.
I would have loved to hear your perspective
can't wait to learn that lesson
of anchoring and then trying to hold your pin. As it's just like,
4 feet.
my pin was on him for momentary as the figure eight was swinging, or just jackhammering.
Just pull through the elbow, Tosh. Just pull through the elbow.
Surprise break is what he told me. It broke on the tree, but I mean, it's awesome to be in that moment, though.
Yeah.
And we're kind of coming full circle back to where I started on the podcast, talking about this is such a good place. Like, you have to acclimate in any type of thing that requires skill and nerves. Like, anything that requires physical and mental assets, you can't do that stuff really well without experience. You can get lucky, but experience is what allows you to collect all those thoughts and, like, take this huge amount of information and digest it down. Which even on that stalk, when I said, okay, there he is, what would you do? And actually I just said, dude, do your thing. And then you started to go. And then remember you got down to, like, that second spot, and then I texted you. I'm like, hey, hold up a second. And then I called you, and you go, what's up? And I'm like, okay, are you trying to get down to there? And you go, yeah. And I'm like, check your wind. And you're like, I said, so if he goes right instead of left, which looking back to us, where did he go?
He went left instead of right.
Well, from his perspective, but
yeah.
From our perspective, he went
to the right way.
And with the way the wind was blowing at that time, if he would have got up early, you were done. So I said, and once you get to that spot, like, we did that as a desperation move, but when we had a lot of time still, I said, what happens if you get there and he goes out in that opening? Then what are you going to do? And you're like nothing, because then you're pinned. So you kind of have to digest all these different things of, in a perfect situation, this is a perfect, like, move on the chessboard. But if all of a sudden he, like, pulls this weird joker out of the deck, like, I need to be able to, to recalibrate, and you couldn't. Mm-hmm. If you would have done that originally, you would have kind of been there, you would have been pegged. You probably would have been sitting there for a long time, and who knows, a lot of times those bucks, they bed in those little dips because the wind, they can feel the wind changing so that they know they're actually in a very good thermal position to where they're checking constant wind swirls. That's why he was in that bowl. And from walking around here, you take one turn, it's like wind's at your back. You go on another curve, it's at your face. He had put himself in a position where he was able to wind check that whole thing constantly throughout the day. So he was totally chill. And I think if you would have got within his wheelhouse for enough amount of time, I think he would have known. I think he would have known. So that's where, at least from my perspective, I said, hey, dude, this is a clean chessboard right now. Like, we're in a good position. He's in a good position. Let him make his first move, and then we're going to adjust.
Always open with the Hofmeister's Gambit. They don't see it coming.
What is that?
You have to look it up.
I think that was one of the key pieces of advice, takeaways of the 10,000 that I've gotten in 3 days. Stay in a position where you keep eyes on them. Just everything you do, just stay in a position where you can keep eyes on him so that when he makes his move, you have options. Because if you make a move and then you don't have your eyes on him, if by the time you try to get eyes on again and he made a move, you don't know.
He's gone.
Sucks being in that position.
Yeah, once you lose visual perspective, then that's it.
That's what happened to me this morning. They just kind of ghosted off behind the cover that I was using. I never saw him reemerge from the other side, and I worked my way around, and it's like...
Well, that happened to us on the rams. So Andy and I chased these rams for 8 miles, right? Technically.
They were walking out a bit.
8 miles, and then all of a sudden, just stupid things happened to where I feel like there was a lot of things to where one small thing put us at a disadvantage, and they maximized on it.
Yeah, Sniper was paying attention.
Yeah, he was. But he wasn't just paying attention to us. He was paying attention to, we were following them, and all of a sudden we blew some whitetail does out that were like 200 yards away, and they started snorting, so then it got their attention up. But once we lost visual of them, if we would have went back to that same spot and tried hunting there all night, we were 2 miles from where it just happened to be luck that, like, I got dropped in one place, Tosh got dropped in another place, and we were essentially working towards...
Converged.
Yeah, we were converging towards the same area, and then it just so happened that I was able to pick up on those sheep again, and then, everything, happened on Hamburger Hill.
Well, even the group that I shot at was all the way back there. I mean, they were all on the hoof all day long.
Yeah. One thing that's important to me, and one reason why, I really wanted to make sure you were like set in archery, like set up right, because obviously you've shot for 2 years now, but you've just been frustrated because it's unfortunate, but you didn't have anyone really spend time with you at the beginning. So you've been trying, like you said, you went down YouTube trails, you did everything you could to like learn on your own, but so that's why I really wanted to come down here, and Andy, I'm thankful Andy came down too, to where we could all be together and teach you to shoot, and then obviously these experiences. But a big reason why this is so important for me, for like Andy was one, our buddy Trevor Thompson was another one. Bridges, the same way, Jocko. Like, I just really feel like for all you guys that are, heroes in America's minds with what you guys went through, like this just seems like such a stress relief. I don't know if it's stress relief. Andy, you can probably help me with that, but it seems like it's like this transition to where you guys really...
I'd say it's therapeutic in a way, but I can't exactly put my finger on why. Like,
what do you think? What do you think, Tosh? Like,
I think it's a connection, a very tight connection to a lot of the things that we used to do, being outdoors, putting together a strategy, reading the terrain, paying attention to the wind in a totally different way, going up against an adversary that has a vote and how the outcome, and like putting all those things together. I don't know how that ends up being therapeutic, other than the fact that maybe guys, and myself included, maybe miss that internally more than we're willing to check in with or recognize, but then being able to tap back into that. I mean, it's obviously not the same thing, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed hunting. I've always enjoyed being outdoors. The intimacy of this is incredible, right? I mean, after some of the experiences... Your adrenaline spikes and troughs and spikes and troughs through the days of whatever we've done, like bang, 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 like, and now you're kind of living even keel. It's cool. We manage. It's adaptable, but then
part of you still needs it.
Thinking I need it, or whatever. And a lot of people resort to methamphetamines, right? To feel that amp or whatever. They resort to we talked on our podcast
maybe
a lot
being
of
reckless
daredevil shit for the
I would
sake of
say
daredevil shit.
Extreme behavior, not because they enjoy the behavior. They're like the chemical or release that they get from their body.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In this, there's something cool there. There's something really cool. Like my legs shaking made me happy. I'm alive.
Yeah.
It made me feel alive. Like I'm
just
not
wish I had
emotionless.
a video or was like there.
You probably could have videoed it from back here from the ranch. It was shaking so bad.
Dude, it was
that on Instagram.
It was one of the first two things he told me. He's like, dude, because I shot that buck. That buck ended up coming by me at like 6 yards. So I gave him
self-defense at that point.
I gave him a chest wound. He couldn't sustain, and that strobing light knock was just like barely hanging out of his chest. So Tosh got to see it like streak across the darkness and then start doing somersaults. And he came up, he's like, dude, holy shit.
You know how sometimes after you shoot, like you wait for a couple minutes, let things settle? Maybe not with bow hunting, at least with rifle, it's like, oh, we're going to give him 15 minutes. There was no doubt in my mind after I just saw the streak, and then I heard a snow plow into the rocks, and then I literally just started walking straight towards you. It was done.
It was done.
When you know.
He comes up, he's like, bro, are you pumped? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, my leg was shaking like a little bitch. like that's his, like it was the second thing he said. He's like, yo, bro, I'm glad you got him because you know what? My leg was just shaking like a little bitch.
He's an excitable man.
I'm okay with it.
I know you are.
You should be. Yeah, that's the bet. Like,
just don't judge me because I'm less excitable. I have the same excitement on the inside.
You know, that was a cool conversation we had the other night.
Yeah.
It was just because I'm like, I come back after you shot your move, and I'm jazzed. I'm so happy for you.
You were jumping up and down, picking me up,
and you just kind of like in your mellow place. I'm just like, how are you? But
he was still trying to process,
internally processing your jazz. I'm externally processing mine. It's cool to see that in different people, and but I think back to what you were saying is feel alive.
Yeah,
I feel alive in a good way, and appreciative that I'm alive and against an adversary that's working against you. And I'm fortunate enough that when I make a mistake, I'm not alive. When I make a mistake, all I get to come back with is an opportunity to reflect and learn and grow and appreciate. You know what I mean?
One of the biggest things that helped me after some serious failures after hunting with Dudley the first time was just the realization, like, the absolute worst case scenario is that the animal walks off. Like, I was so pissed, and then I had gotten myself to where I was rushing a couple shots. Like I would get to that moment, it was like, I got to do 9 things. Maybe not. Let's just fire this thing off and see what happens. Surprisingly enough, it didn't go well. Shocker, really. Mm-hmm. And I was so pissed at myself, and then I finally realized it's like, what's the worst case scenario? Even when I drew back on the mouflon, like we're moving up, and it's like, so one thing I was going to ask you about is your breathing. Do you focus on your breathing?
I do. I remind myself to deep breath,
yep,
exhale, and then I want to really just spend my time at the bottom of my exhale.
No, I mean leading up to it. So like even like when we were moving up, we were chasing the herd, and then we saw the other mouflon, and we broke off, and I knew a shot was probably going to happen. I started thinking about it there. I think
that's a great way to settle
get
the
ahead
rest of your
the
body.
Because I'm sure I'm capable of doing the sewing machine as well. I've seen it many times.
I love that.
But one thing that helps, so I start thinking about my breathing way before to try to manage it. And if I feel for me, what I'll feel when I start getting amped up is I'll feel heat in my face. Like that's one of the indications that I've found just over the years. And if I feel that, the first thing I go to is my breathing. I start trying to calm down. And then we got into a position yesterday to shoot, and Dudley was ranging, and I dialed in. And right as I draw back, and right when I anchor, and I'm letting the pin settle, in my head I'm like, dude, what's the worst case scenario? Like, instead of worrying about like everything that could possibly go wrong, I'm like, because I'm looking at him, and I thought he might run off, and it's like, cool, I'll find you in 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. You know, so I try to remove all of that pressure, and I would call it a below average shot because I was a little bit bubbled off, which had an impact on where the arrow actually impacted. Fortunately, I would say the broadhead in that case saved me. Perfect example of where an expandable can save you over a fix because of the extended cutting area. But
that was a massive cut.
Massive cut.
The blood trails are not hard to follow.
Mm-hmm.
It's
that thing was over in 5 seconds.
He was over 5 yards, or not 5 yards, but probably 5 seconds after he left our field of view.
Yeah.
But I feel comfortable in that moment because in the back of my mind, it's like, oh, if he runs off, I'm not rushing it anymore. Mm-hmm. Or yesterday when I missed that axis and I took my time and like scooched my way over, took my time. Why can't they stand still? It's very irritating. He'd go to this side, and then he'd come back to this side, and then he'd show me his butt, and then he'd show me his face. So I'm just sitting there like, can you please hold still so I can kill you? What's your problem? But drew back and fired, and he matrixed me But I still have a smile on my face because it's like, I'll come back tomorrow. What's the worst thing that can happen?
I think breathing is like 50% of the equation. If you've triggered that fight or flight, I think breathing is like, listen, you need to breathe, which you've taught me that on skydiving. There's been times where, and I don't think I've felt that so much in the air, but in the wind tunnel, because I know we're practicing technique.
Yeah, people hold their breath.
I'm really critical because it's not like I feel like if I'm not doing something right, I'm going to die. I'm practicing fundamentals in the wind tunnel. And there's times where Andy will just look at me and be like, dude, frickin' relax.
This is the most common signal.
Yeah, just relax. And
because they're in there like,
I'm relaxed. What are you talking about?
my face is red. It's just like,
I haven't breathed in like 2 minutes.
yeah. It's like, exhale. And then they do, and all of a sudden it's like, and they fly perfectly.
I think breathing is 50% of the equation. I think the other 50%, at least in this process, is just, I feel like if I go through my routine in my head, it helps get my conscious thoughts off like the prize or the nervousness, and it just like, it helps me forget about that. And then it's like, okay, breathe. What's my process? Stance, grip, shoulder, anchor, peep, execute, finish.
Do you talk yourself through that even when there's an animal on the other side of your pin?
Yeah, I go through that step, and then normally, like once something gets to the position, I like in my mind I say checkmate a lot. Like that triggers my shot routine. Like once I see that, and I'm and I kind of I almost see the cards unfolding. Like it's like I've counted the deck, and all of a sudden I like see that, and I'm like, checkmate, you're dead. And then it's just like doot, 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 doot. And then it happens, and then it's game over. Once I see that situation, it's like, you made the mistake. This, like, it's done. And so breathing's important, especially if there's been times where I've got nervous, and I'll be, I'll breathe, I'll check my pulse, and then it's like, okay, what matters most? Shot routine. Like if you do the fundamentals, the outcome is the same every time. If you don't do the fundamentals, it's on the house. What do they want to deal you? It's like, if I do the fundamentals all the time, then I get a freaking 10 jack queen king ace.
Is that good?
No. Right. If I don't,
Is that 4 of a kind?
if I was playing guard Z, no.
Full house,
no.
awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got you got 5 in a row? No, that's not good. Yeah, 2 ace 3 5. That's way better.
Yep, different suits.
No, I think if you, as long as you lay out those cards that way, then it's like, this is game over. But if you all of a sudden just like shuffle the deck because you're spazzing out, and you're just like, shit, I'm just gonna, then it's like, what do I got?
I think it's fun to do that sometimes too, though.
It is. It is.
I can't say I've never done that.
Yeah.
I certainly have, and I think it's worked out.
Dudes, I got a pack.
One time. What are you talking about? What time's your flight?
4:15.
Well, it's an hour and a 2 hours there. How far is it? Hour and a half there?
Figure 2 hours. Hour and a half. Hour 45.
Yeah, 2 hours there. It gives me. Yeah, we got to roll.
Take your headset off. Tosh and I aren't done.
Okay, you guys can roll.
You roll. See, his is off now.
You guys talk.
Say something, Tosh.
Hey, I'm here.
Oh, no, you're not. What did I do? No, you're
I
good.
don't know. I feel like I'm here.
I feel like you're here too.
Touch.
Because your microphone's so far away.
It's a cool little thing you got going on.
It's a Zoom.
there.
I won't turn it off when it's recording. His is still on. Unfortunate.
Can't unplug. You just can't unplug them.
I could unplug it, but I don't know what that would do. And in my luck, it would probably somehow completely erase the card.
Gotcha.
So, when are you coming back? Or I should say, what's your
Back.
plan going forward with your bow?
Oh man, so I'm going to do school at Knock, obviously. So
Yep.
Dud sent me a text message. Hey man, what's your draw length? Or hey bro, what's your draw length? My legs started shaking. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I went upstairs, put a pencil mark on a wall. And tried to pencil mark and
Yep.
try to look at my other bow, and I knew the other bow was short. It's 29.
So you had never hunted with the other bow, though, right? You had just...
No, I've hunted. This is my 3rd year bow hunting.
Okay.
You know, I took that bow. I mean, I shot a bear with it. It just, the arrow bounced out of its shoulder socket. I mean, if I was an inch left,
Yeah.
you know. And, you know, so I've been practicing, but, you know, nobody, it's just self-taught. And then texting you and texting Dudley, hey, do this, do that. Then Dudley will do like a live cast feed, and you'd look at that. And,
Yeah.
you know,
When
I'm
you
shooting-
text me with archery questions, just so you know, I just cut and paste it and text it to Dudley because I don't know the answers to it. You actually have more bow hunting experience than I do if you've been doing it for 3 years. I'm
Wow,
18 months in.
This will be my 3rd year.
Yeah.
But I have not, this year actually, shooting at that bear was the first arrow I threw at any animal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I've been bow hunting and not even drawn. And then come down here, and Dud's put together that brand new Hoyt, which is like world-class Cadillac.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, whoa, man! I've been riding in a Volkswagen.
Actually fitted to you. The draw length is correct. It's probably weighted much more appropriately for you.
Yeah. You know, you go into a local sporting goods store, and the archery pro, he's just more of like a archery, actively interested as a hobby. Who knows? You never know, right? Like, so I think that's a good point.
I have found
is
it to
go
be
a
hit
good
or
archery
miss.
store.
Yeah, I found it to be hit or miss. There was
Yeah.
a store up where I live that specialized mostly, if not exclusively, in Matthews product. And I have never shot a Matthews, so I have no value judgment on the product whatsoever. I just happened to be introduced to bow hunting through Hoyts. So I took my Hoyt in there, and I sent it to Dudley after they were done working on it, so he could
Redo it.
rewind what had happened. So it's, I mean, but I'm sure if I had gone there with the Matthews, they probably would have been fine. So it's and I get hit up with this question a lot too. People say, "Where should I start? How do I get into bow hunting?" And I just point them all towards the tall gentleman who's off packing now.
Yeah. Well, I think Dudley did a podcast about that, and it's just, I mean, once you get to a certain class bow, I mean, they're all great, but it's when you take it to the store, like, don't get somebody that hasn't been taught and isn't a Hoyt tech to dial in your Matthews, because the bows are different.
Yeah.
But anyways, I get this, I mean, man, and then I'm down here, we meet down here, and then I'm starting to shoot and pick up a couple lessons real quick, and just, yeah, I'm feeling confident. Like, I'm going back to Colorado when I get back there. I got another week on the road, and then I'm going to start week 1 school of knock with the bow and the knock to it, so that I can do everything appropriate to, instead of trying to say, well, I've got this or I've got that or this or that. And I'm sure it's the same. Who knows? But like, I feel more legit going through it there. And I'm just going to get reps and reps and reps, so that next year when I have an opportunity, or if I come back down here to Texas to this ranch and say, hey man, maybe I want to go after some, I'm not interested in the shield. Like, I'm fascinated with the axis deer, and I'll continue to try to hunt those things and get beat up by them.
Yeah.
You know? And
there might be some value in you just doing some stalks on the sheep.
Yeah, right. Like, if you see them, might as well stalk them and see if you can get into a shooting scenario.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, would be great. I mean, even take that training guide that Dud's.
Oh, the right release?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I don't want to waste, but I mean, I don't want to. I'm not interested in shooting a sheep.
I just feel like there's a
right
lot
now.
of value in
But
practicing
working
a
the
live
process.
stock.
Yeah, 100%.
Because spotting, spot and stock hunting, in my opinion at least, half the time I think spotting it is equally as hard as the stock, because you're walking around, like that first day, 12 and a half miles, or just a little bit over 12 and a half miles. I did not see an axis deer the entire time. So I saw those sheep all day. I had no idea that we were actually able to hunt them, because we were just walking past them, and they're like, hey buddy, what's going on? Good to see you again. They were totally our bros. Just
because they knew you weren't hunting them.
Correct. And the next day they totally changed their attitude. So they were definitely assholes. But yeah, spotting them is hard. And then the stock, trying to figure out the geometry of how you're going to get into it. I think there's value in both. So maybe not. If you come down here and you can't find the axis, but you can find those sheep, dude, I would do a stalk,
Put a stalk on them.
I'd practice at least.
Yep.
The one thing that has been hard for me is the wind. Because thinking about it from a non-ballistic perspective, even though obviously it'll move your arrow a little bit, I never once thought about wind in my previous job. I didn't care if it didn't matter. I only thought about it from how far would it move the round, and I only thought about that like maybe like the 300 Win Mag outside of 600 yards, because that thing is just eating into it, up until 600. Beyond that point, when it becomes much more of an issue. But I don't know, man. Stock the hell out of those things.
It was fun. You had a good time. I mean, you
I had a blast, man.
put some stalks on.
I did. I took. Let me see. I took 2 shots. I 50 went 50%. That axis. I should have had that axis last night and completely forgot how their reaction is to the sound of the bow. I cannot describe it. I hope that you get to. I don't want you to have a situation where you miss because of it, but I kind of do. So you'll understand how quickly they maneuver. Because when I went to Lanai with Barklow from Sitka, and it took me 3 days, I think, to get my first one. I would aim, right in the pocket, doink, and that thing was 6 feet away by the time the arrow got there.
No kidding.
It seemed like it. I'm sure it missed it by about an inch, but it was intimately frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole new chapter of lessons that I've yet to learn. That's exciting to me. Every chapter that you feel like you've read and then you went back and you've reread and you're working,
yeah.
There's another chapter to learn.
I want
And
you to
then
put a
another
GoPro
chapter
on your
to learn,
stabilizer,
right?
though. Because that'll be the very end. And if you are, in fact, sewing machine that thing, that'd be the best video ever.
Oh, my God. That would be funny. That would be funny.
I have had a GoPro on my stabilizer, I think, hunting 5 or 6 times. I have yet to remember to actually turn it on in the moment that counts. I forget every single time. I am completely not paying attention to any media capturing whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then, fortunately, Dudley's usually back there with his cell phone. So, what's next for you, man? What else you got going on other than hanging out in Texas for a bit? You were telling me about these races you're going to do.
Yeah, headed to New Zealand for an adventure race on the world stage, which is amazing. 10-day. I think we're going to cover 450 miles or something like that.
And you're still in your normal training protocol, which is you start a couple days before?
Yeah.
PBR.
Hydrate
All
with
right.
these.
I just want to make sure you hadn't actually started training for any of these endurance races, that you show up with your cotton sweats and a Ziploc bag with your race credentials.
Right. You've been talking to Chris. Life is training. That's just how I approach it.
Yep.
We talked about it on the first podcast, man. Everything you do, like everything that I did down here is training, building skills, learning about yourself in different situations, knowing that you can be okay when everything else is telling you that you could reasonably not feel okay, and just saying, hey, but I'm okay, and adapting. I think I have a little bit of weight I need to lean up. I should probably, at this point in the game, man, I don't know. I always used to say, hey, age isn't one of those things. I don't like the people, oh, I'm so old. I can't stand hearing that from people. Oh, I'm getting old. Oh, age. But like all of a sudden, the last couple of years, I'm starting to notice some things. And it's like, okay, hey, maybe it's not necessarily I need to train, but the maintenance effort should be a little higher than it used to be. Practice. I believe in practice. I think practice and training is 2 different things. So I try not to use the words interchangeably, but I want to get on the mountain bike again and get some practice in, get my balance.
Are you going to be on mountain bikes for that race?
Yep. I mean, we'll do. I think they just advertised that it's God Zone Chapter 8 down in New Zealand. 60% of the race is going to be in kayaks. So, I need to get back in the kayak. I need to get my paddles dusted off and get them in the water and just work that technique, and knowing that you're going to do 250 miles over the course of 10 days on your damn kayak.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So I need to probably practice with my knots and my climbing skills, because we're going to be doing some ascension and some rappelling.
I think I've actually seen a video of this race. It was long ago, though, because I saw people rappelling down this huge cliff. They were in water, they were on bikes, and they were running.
Yeah.
For some reason, though, I remember one of the clips, they were running next to their bikes. I don't know why they weren't riding them. I don't know what caused you to do
sand.
that.
It just depends on what race. I mean, I've had my bikes. I've rappelled with my bike before. Hike a bike sections, climbing these massive mountain, bushwhacking.
Yeah. That's gotta be fun to carry a mountain bike.
Now I got my bike with me. Why am I got my bike when I spent 80% of this leg is a 40-mile leg, and I'm spending 80% of it pushing and carrying my bike? But it's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm into that. So I'm gonna hit that, and then we've got our. I think we're gonna do the Eco Challenge. Just got re-released. Mark Burnett's bringing it back, and I think I'm on this pro team to do Eco Challenge in Fiji. in the fall. So those will be my 2 big race events that I'll do.
For the year.
Yeah, I don't think I'm interested in doing too many more. I got to get some time back at home, my feet underneath myself. I'm just on the road, moving, traveling. You don't want to say no to anybody, so you always say yes, and it's...
I know. It's amazing how fast it starts slipping away. Before you know it, the carpet, we were talking about this before the podcast, like, behind is a understatement.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're catching up, like, because you have, your device, and you can kind of, like, hey, pay attention to what's coming in. Dude. Then you start realizing, 6 days, 7 days, 8 days, 14 days.
The only thing you're catching up on is your awareness of how far behind you are.
Pretty much.
Right?
And open every email with, I apologize, I am an asshole.
We were walking back today, John and I, and he's like asking me, what do you got planned, this and that? I'm like, man, I'm on the road for this, that. I got to come back down to Texas, to Lackland for an Air Force Base gig and this and that. I'm on the road, I need a break. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. That's what these last 3 days with you were. Like, this was my break.
Yeah.
And it was cool. So, how about you? What's next? What do you got?
What do I have next? I actually get some time at home to chill for a bit. So we're in, like, peak snow season. How is the snowpack where you guys are?
Oh, Nicole said they got dumped on for like 4 days in a row. So we've got a lot of snow this year.
Which is good because you were light last year, right?
Light
we were
last
up at
year.
Estes Park, and you could tell that they had a light snow year.
Mm-hmm.
So actually having some people come to us. So Dudley and Sharon are going to come out and board for a bit.
Cool.
The ranch he was at, Wes, is going to come out and hang at the same time. And just basically for the month of February, I think I'm going to be able to stay local for quite some time.
Good.
Which is, it's... I'm actively seeking ways to try to maximize my time at home because there's just a lot of stuff I like doing where I can only do it at home.
Mm-hmm.
Just started doing jiu-jitsu like 6 months ago, which I can only train at home, and it sucks to leave for 3 weeks to come back and be like, can we start over at day 1 again? Because I think I forgot everything. That type of stuff.
How come you can only do that at home?
I don't know. I've never traveled around and done visited any other gyms.
Okay.
I'm sure that I could. But I kind of just don't want to. I really like the vibe at the gym where I train at now. The people there are awesome, and it's just cool. And I'm sure a lot of people like that wherever they get that entry point into that particular activity, they seem to enjoy it. And then what else? We have some hunts lined up with Dudley. It's interesting. The season almost seems to never end because it's like, hey, we'll go here and do this, and we'll go there and do that. And then, end of August, early September is pinned to the ground for elk season. So there's the Alberta trip, which is the elk opener. And then there's the, what is it? August? Yeah, September is true elk season in Montana, which you need to come get some Western hunt action.
So,
well, you live in a Western state.
Yeah. I mean, we had an opportunity to whack some big elk down here on the ranch.
Which is bizarre to me that there's elk in Texas.
Yeah, and they're gorgeous, and they're huge. And, the ranch school is like, yeah, hey, go ahead, take one. Like, right, Nick was saying, yeah, shoot an elk if you want to shoot an elk. And it was Dudley and I walked up to a herd of 5 or 6 of them today. And we weren't really hunting them. We were literally just reading the wind, and we're glassing and trying to read the wind, which way we wanted to walk. And he's like, I think there's elk over there. And we look over there, and sure enough, there's elk. But we're glassing them. And it's like, hey, man, I'm not interested in shooting an elk like this. I want my elk hunt to be one of those in the woods, the bugling, the excitement, the thing charging in on you, like you see the breath. Like I want one of those epic, iconic elk hunts. So I'm holding myself back for one of those, man. So if you say, Tosh, you need to be here on this date, I'm there, man. I want that so bad.
Well, I think you're obviously welcome in Montana. The issue is the draw because you're a non-resident. Mm-hmm. For myself and Barklow, it's a guarantee, I believe, for archery only. Or if not, like the high 90th percentile, you're going to draw. But for anybody outside of that, you gotta do the draw. Who's calling me?
Is that you or me?
That's fine.
So, over-the-counter tags for non-residents, any unit, or is it still lottery?
I don't know enough about it to answer that question accurately. I know that you're going to have to apply through the month. Well, here's what I'll do. I'll work with Barklow, and you can just apply, and I think it's a general tag. It comes with an elk tag and a deer tag.
Oh, cool.
Either sex, I believe, for both, so antlered or antlerless. and that gets you. That general tag is good for all of the non-high draw districts.
Yep.
Like there's an area in Montana which I have no experience with called the Missouri Breaks. Everybody talks about it like it's unbelievable. Never hunted there. I've heard amazing things, but your odds of drawing a tag there and mine actually are very, very low. So I think we're focusing on a general tag hunt in a general area where if you guys can just get the lottery, which I believe is a high percentage just for that general tag, then bring it.
Yeah, man.
And you can do 200 miles underfoot like we did before that thing came in.
I was following you, dude, and
I was pretty tired of walking.
just watching, just waiting for an update, text, and man. Just trying
You got
to
to
track
roll?
that.
Yeah, my flight's at 4.
Oh, what time is it?
12:30.
All right. So,
man.
5 more minutes, though. Tell me about your podcast. I want people to listen to your podcast.
Oh, I don't know, man. I'm just it's different format. I don't do interviews or anything like that yet. I just made a commitment, and it's basically I get on once a week and I just talk. I just talk to myself out loud. I mean, about something that's on my mind for that week. So I don't rehearse it, I don't script it. There'll be a theme. You know, I've got on my glass board at home, I've got like 4 or 5 themes of things I want to think about, and inevitably like they're on your head and you're processing them and you're digesting them in your head. And it's like I just want to share them out loud. And so that's all it is. It's just me rambling on for anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes. I try to keep them short on something that I've been triggered by.
Well, you forget the most important part, though. What's it
that?
called?
Oh, Crooked yeah. Crooked Butterfly Podcast. Yeah, Crooked Butterfly Podcast. You can listen to me ramble for 25 minutes on something that has got me tuned up.
Perfect.
Hey, Duds, don't pack that jacket that I'm stealing from you.
You want Andy's?
What's that?
You want Andy's?
No, that's my magic jacket.
I'm gonna go over there and unzip your luggage and
Take it.
Go shopping.
All right, man. Thanks for having us down here. Appreciate it.
Super awesome, bro.
Bye, everyone.